I'm here.
Oh, I'm not in Roll20. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Probably,
Right, that's a key part.
Join the old game-o. Do you need to join?
Yep, it's loading right now.
All right. So, did anybody need a refresher from where we left?
Deny.
There have been more than a few times that that's been the case, so...
What happened? I feel like there was something shit. I should have taken a note right at the end. It's like, I wanted to do something right at the end of the session, but we ended. And I was like, don't forget, Ben. It's the thing you want to do.
And then you did that one thing. You forgot. Here, we can always do this. No.
Hey, Ken, are you able to get in?
Yeah, I'm in.
Huh. I'm getting the same issue as we were last.
What's it doing?
It was black screening when I clicked on the campaign.
Have you tried a different browser?
I've not. I'm trying Chrome. Oh, wait, this might be working now. Yep.
There, it looks like you're in. Let's see, if I go to the Twitch pod and I go all the way to the end where we're playing. I don't know. If you think about it, Ben. I'm trying to remember. But anyways, you guys good to go?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, I'm sure it's easy enough to remember. We left off with you guys traveling south through the Arm Channel aboard Fanyu's ship with his crew. Fan's haulers. You were heading to the south coast of Glenmont when Marleone, Soren, and Pate went to the back of the ship. Decided to do some late night fishing and caught an arm eel, which promptly stole the bait from Marleone's rod, and you all deployed armored boats from the side of the craft itself to combat these eels. You managed to, I believe, kill 2 of them, and one of them escaped to the depths below. as several of the crew were killed, but for the most part, the ship was left intact. The armored vessels are kind of brought back to the docking stations and reeled back up into their position, fitting back flush with the hull of the main ship itself. So anything you guys wanted to do in the water before, or do you just want to get back on the ship?
Marleone. I guess I'm cool with redocking. I didn't have anything else to do in the.
Marleone would like Soren to go towards where he'll mention how like Omen saw Kal'Araan drop his greatsword, I believe it was, in order to get back onto the boat, and demands that we go to where he fought the eel in an attempt to recover it.
Yeah, where was that again?
Behind the boat.
Looking out, like, if you're still on the craft, like the part of the river that you're on, you're still going south. You're still going downstream. So like, the point at which it literally happened is hard to like pinpoint exactly. It's kind of like, you know, it was right here relative to the boat, but that is always shifting because you're in the water.
Am I able to make a search for potentially like the eel sinking in the water or something like that?
This is probably only like 20 seconds later, right? This is just mere moments after.
Yeah. So yeah, because you didn't end over there. Go ahead and make a perception check, Marleone, since you were on the other side of the boat, I believe. Yeah, as you kind of reel the ship around towards the docking station on the back, you do see the corpse of the eel. Relatively, like it's sinking relatively quickly, but you can see the outline of the eel far off to the port side of the boat, sinking down. You see that outline of a greatsword just kind of lodged in its skull. It drifts down.
Soren, I need you to get me as close to this as you can.
Is this a good idea?
It's all right. It's fine. You don't have to worry about it. You just let it go. Just a little hunk of steel.
Soren, I need you to get me as close to this as you can.
All right, I'm driving.
Already.
All right, so you are going to you're gonna what? What are you doing?
I'm piloting the boat as close as to the spot that Marleone is pointing out to me, because I can't see shit.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna say. Yeah. So you're on the same boat. That's right. So you guys are gonna. So Soren immediately just starts piloting the boat around the back as the rest of the ships are docking up on the side of the main vessel itself. The rest of you see Soren and Marleone's ship like cast out a wake behind the boat and begin going around to where Kal'Araan has hitched his boat up to the docking station on the back. And you see Fanyu kind of like takes a moment and like sees you coasting around, and he just goes, "What are you doing?" As you go out away from the ship. You're probably like 70 or 80 feet away because of just the travel that's been going on. And Marleone, you looking over the edge, you see the eel probably 30-35 feet down at this point once you get above it.
Okay.
Sinking down to the water.
Using this, I guess, the travel time, I'm going to mentally tell Omen to come to my boat, and then I'm going to
fly over.
Dangle over the edge of the boat, like preparing to jump in, and I'm going to use Step of the Wind to double my jump distance, maybe to give myself a boost.
Okay.
I'm gonna fucking dive for that sword.
As he steps up to the edge of the boat, Soren's going to put a hand on his shoulder and cast guidance.
Okay. So when you're doubling your jump, are you jumping up and diving down, or are you trying to push yourself straight down?
I'm trying to push myself down into the water faster.
Okay. So go ahead and make a athletics check to do that. Soren's giving you guidance, and yeah, we'll see where that goes.
And then I'll use there's a +4. It's a 1d4, right?
D4. Yep. Killing it.
Soren, go ahead and make a dexterity saving throw. As Marleone pushes himself against the boat. He puts one leg against it and puts a good amount of force on this boat. As he pushes against the water, part of it cracks up from the slight amount of damage that's been applied to it during combat, and the boat itself is kicked upwards from the force that Marleone puts on it. You manage to stabilize yourself, Soren, and you don't fall in after it. You manage to keep the boat from capsizing as it levels out again. However, that small crack gave a lot of force out of your kick, and you only get about halfway the distance you want to get. I'd say you, because of all the extra shit you gave yourself, though, you probably get about like 10 to 15 feet from the eel itself, and it's not like dropping like a rock. It's, you know, it's a water creature. It's just sinking slowly, and you see that great sword sticking out of the skull as its eyes are wide open, just dully gazing off in each direction.
I'm going for the sword. Swim, swim, swim.
All right, so you swim up to the sword, and you manage to kind of grab hold of it and put one foot on the eel's skull.
I want to pull it out.
All right, go ahead and make another athletics check. You manage to barely just rip it out of the skull of the eel. Some of the eel's blood trails off after in the water. However, make a perception check. As you've now traveled a good distance down in the water, and it is nighttime outside, because you have dark vision, right? Yeah, your dark vision is like adjusted to this scenario. Look, you know which way is up, and you begin to like put the sword under your arm, and begin to swim up. As you glance down, however, you see at the very, very tail end of the eel, a massive silhouette of some kind coming out of the darkness, far enough that your dark vision can't tell you the profile. However, you see a quick movement, and the eel goes taut and is immediately pulled away from you and begins to disappear down into the depths. You see it just jerking, like, not it's moving, but it's like it's being moved by something else. It's being grabbed and thrashed around below you. And as you begin to swim upwards, you see one long, white, almost light pink tentacle wrap around the entire length of the eel itself. Part of it kind of grabbing the jaw and just breaking it backwards. And you see the eel just disappear down to the depths below you.
Am I within 60 feet of the surface?
The surface, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to use that time to, looking through Omen's eyes, teleport myself back to the boat. Because I just need to know where my location is, and I can see through Omen's eyes if I'm within 100 feet.
So as you see that, you immediately look up towards Omen, you feel that vision change, and you teleport yourself back into the boat. Soren, like, as soon as you had stabilized yourself, just as you finally came back to sitting still, Marleone once again appears in the boat and rocks it back and forth for a moment. And is back on the ship.
I have the sword. We can go back now.
Oh, he has it? He has the sword?
By the dragon, you got it. Holy crap. I thought it was gone.
A weapon is an extension of a person's body. I'm not about to leave stuff behind that we don't need to.
At this point, you see Fanyu at the railing of the port side of the ship, and he goes, "Get back up here now!"
We should probably go back now. Thank you, Soren.
As you begin rowing, Marleone, looking back towards where you just swam up from, while the silhouette of the eel is gone, you do see that same large silhouette just drifting far below the surface, slowly rising up towards your position. Not hurried in any way, but it follows you like at a distance back to the docking station, where you both hook up and get reeled back into the hull of the ship. When you get reeled back into the ship itself, you're actually like inside, and you have to like walk out of the crew's quarters. You're back on the ship. Immediately, Fanyu, once everybody is back on board, gets back to the helm and just releases as all the sails that they have, and you see the ship pick up in speed down channel. You all kind of have to grab onto a railing to hold yourself. It's just immediately, he doesn't even stop to pick the bodies out of the water. Just travels down the channel. As he kind of sets a pace and gives it to his helmsman, he comes over to the party and just kind of Now, if you had tried to brave this on your own, and those things came after you, it wouldn't just be a few of my greenhorns that would have died. This is the assurance. This is going to get you to where you need to go. Hopefully you can see this was a sound investment now. But next time, don't spend more time in the water than you have to.
I'm impressed with the outrider boats you have. I agree, this was a sound investment. I said that you would have to impress me, and you have. And Soren's gonna open his lockbox and take out 90 gold and hand it to Marleon.
Thank you.
All right.
Sweet.
It was kind of fun, actually.
He kind of like chuckles when you say that, and he goes, There's something to be said for the adrenaline rush. But afterwards, I'm gonna realize it's better to avoid these things. So hopefully no more of this happens on the rest of the trip, but if so, we're more than equipped to handle it.
And you do travel through dangerous waters, but you also must carry some interesting cargo for having such stout protection on your boat.
I pride myself in never having lost a shipment, or never having a passenger die in my care, following my instructions, of course.
We're sorry for the loss of your crewmen. How many did we lose?
I believe it was, I think it was one per eel.
That sounds right.
Yeah, no.
Was it just the two?
No, it was three. It was three. There's one off the deck, one off the back, and one by you guys on the starboard side. So, yeah, there were three. It's an unfortunate reality for traveling these waters, but it's what they sign up for, and the pay is more than adequate to mitigate the risk. There are a few other greenhorns in this crew that will learn from tonight and will avoid their same fate in the coming weeks, should it happen again. But it's unusual. Aurum eels are dangerous, to be sure, but they rarely travel in groups and rarely instigate a fight. The ship is big enough that I would not expect them to have outright come after us. It's troubling, to say the least. Something I haven't seen on the channel in my time.
There have been chaotic uprisings in everywhere that we have traveled in recent months. Perhaps the Aurum channel wasn't spared such a fate. Have been any other troubles of late?
Not more than usual. I see my fair share. I can't really say. The wilds are the wilds, unpredictable and not one to maintain a pattern, but especially around Glenmont, creatures, and us included, are usually dissuaded by the sort of energy that's pushed out from the island. The Eladrin there prefer their solitude and protection, and they cast some sort of sorcery to not necessarily physically keep creatures at bay, but mentally. I've seen beasts storm for prey in the shallows of the channel and stop halfway across in fear and return back to the eastern banks. Our meals coming out this far. It's unusual.
Every time you talk about Glenmont, it makes me question our decision.
Yeah, but
Well-
I'm starting to say it's getting further and further from what I expected.
The Eladrin, like I said, at Glenmont are not those you would expect elsewhere in the world. They have witnessed some of the most horrific events that have befallen Kal'Araan, of any peoples here. I'm sure many of you know of the descent.
Of course.
But please refresh me.
When this world fell into the material plane hundreds of years ago, Glenmont was not the only island that the Eladrin resided on in Kal'Araan. There were many more, but this is the only one that remained after that cataclysm. Nearly their entire people died, and as such, the amount of solitude and disconnection from the outside world you find there, well, I suppose if I had to be subject to that, I wouldn't find it too odd. But in any case, it makes me uneasy to travel near the island. I've had some of the mentally weaker in my crew abandon us in the early years, decide to head to the island themselves, not been seen since. And I have never met one person myself that came from the island out into the outside world. There have been some that have traveled there and back, but few and far between. It's just an area of caution, and anything I don't understand, I try not to dock my ship on.
If there's anything else in these waters that we should be worried about, you tell us, maybe we could be more prepared next time. As you can see, we held our own in the fight against the eels. I have no doubt that any troubles that we face, we're not dead yet, and I think that's saying something.
You have proven yourselves. I didn't explicitly doubt your abilities, but I wasn't expecting much, so I am impressed, I have to admit. As far as what to expect after tonight, I can't really say, but one thing you should always remember is never try to approach the island anywhere from the south. Only the southern beach is a safe landing on the Isle of Glenmont. Whether you are taking it by boat, flying, it doesn't matter. The south beach is the only way in. And he kind of like, he takes one hand on the wheel of the ship and just gently rocks it to the starboard side, and you begin turning towards the island. It's like a good, like, 3/4 of a mile between one side of the river and the other. It's a really, really wide section right now. And as you get closer to the island, it's still that deep green with that heavy shroud of mist over it. As you get closer and closer, you notice that the river itself on the starboard side gets darker and darker, and then you notice as the mist comes down to meet the water, the river literally like falls down like a waterfall into nothing, like into the island before it meets land, and just disappears. And he pushes back on the port side of the wheel, brings it back into a straight pattern, and he leans over the right and he goes, "I've never seen anything come back from whatever abyss these waters pour down into. But they go around the entire island, save for the south. And I don't believe that's an accident." So like from this angle, you can see the entire island almost is like surrounded by a waterfall going from you, where you are in the river, towards the island and down. Just disappearing in the darkness.
Interesting.
As he reels the ship back onto a normal course.
What's
So yeah, we're well on our way now at this point, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I identify the battle boys from the other day? Like, are they just like on the boat? The guys that were with
The battle boys. Who are you referring to? The people, the crew members in the
little boat that I was on.
Oh yeah, the two people you can find them.
Okay. I don't know if they're like busy or anything. I'm sure they have things to do.
Yeah, you can. You spend a few moments if you want. You're able to locate them. It's not a huge shift. Maybe it takes like 2-3 minutes.
Okay. I guess if they're unoccupied, Hixus is gonna point to me. Come here, both. He's gonna bring him to the deck.
So they like nod over and they walk over to you, Hixus. And they're like both kind of like drying themselves off from the combat and everything.
If memory serves, I believe like they were slashing at the eel with like short swords. Are they actual short swords? It's kind of like getting into the getting into the nitty gritty. But Hixus is gonna look at these two and he's gonna say, "That wasn't the best display out there, lad." And he's gonna take one of their short swords and he's gonna be like, you know, the short sword. You know, people like to use the edge and you can get a good cut, but it's the tip that does the damage. And he's gonna go through a couple of short sword routines with these guys. He's gonna kind of go through like the short sword haymaker into like the front thrust. It's like you gotta plant your feet and you gotta go for the stab, especially if you're trying to do real damage to the target. All right, you try. And he's gonna pass the short sword back to these guys.
Go ahead and make what would this be? I guess a persuasion check.
It's not my best.
No, it's just like the only thing I can think that's applicable. Yeah, they kind of like, at first they're like confused as to why you're doing this, but once you show them a few of the practice moves that you have, you hand it back to them and they kind of like try to replicate them, and you see they're like, one of them is excellent with the jabs and the stabs that he's doing. The other one's like just completely whiffing it. As they kind of finish the motions, the one that's kind of like fucking it up, he just goes, "This is why I prefer using the spears. You can't hit anything more than a few feet away with these."
It's probably a better choice. And he's gonna Hixus is gonna point to the short sword. You need to get in close with these to do anything substantial. And then he's gonna point to his pole arm. He's gonna, I prefer to be a little bit further away.
Being in range always increases your odds of living, in my opinion.
I agree. Anyway, keep at it.
They kind of nod like appreciatingly, and you see the one that's like the guy on the left who's like getting the jabs really well. Is kind of like instructing the other one, like, "Nope, you got to lock up your arm like this." And as you're walking away, they're like practicing behind you.
All right, that's what I wanted. I just wanted to get him on the straight and narrow here.
They're on their way.
How much longer do we have on the boat? What's the journey duration?
We should reach the southern beach by tomorrow afternoon. And I suggest at this rate you get some rest. I'm going to need it. But whatever energy you're able to store up, you want if you're making a journey onto the island.
I'm gonna go ahead and take this time to get out of this armor and take like the wet soaking padding out from underneath all the armor and get it all dried up.
Okay. And some of the crew members help you. They have like dehydration supplies and stuff for armor should it get wet. And they're like giving you some like waterproof polish and stuff to make sure the plates don't rust or get tarnished.
Thank you.
Well, we'll keep watch for the night. I'll be turning in myself soon. Suggest you do the same.
Agreed.
That I will.
Kate will happily get ready for bed.
Yeah. Before we can just like wave through this or whatever, but I wanted to talk to some of the crew members who seem to be mourning the loss of those crew members to see if like what their perception of it was, like how they feel about it, and if there was like a grieving process, like we should drink in their honor or something like that. Like we should, like they.
Go ahead and make an insight check. While there is a solemn tone in the boat, looking to like the two crew members that Hixus was talking to, and some of the more rookie-looking, less like haggard or less veteran crew members. There is a sense of solemnness and kind of quiet. However, there's no crying in the ship. There's no kind of like nobody stopped doing their job. And whenever somebody kind of pauses for a moment, one of the veteran members kind of comes up to him and like doesn't like grab them, but just like puts a hand on the back of their neck and just kind of shakes them for a moment and nods, and they carry on.
Yeah, so solemn reverence then, I guess.
Yeah, it's a little cold. It's a little cold of a reception, but
yeah, there. The sea is cold and cruel. Yeah, I don't know. I might just like do a toast or something like that, bust out a flask and just like something small, but like that we recognize the loss and that they were brave.
Yeah, and as you are you like doing that just to the party, or like what are you doing?
I want to do that with the crew. Like if there's a group of the like crew members at some point, or if there's like I honestly I know nothing about schedules at sea. So if there's like a meal time or like a fair number of them like get together to like eat or something, or if it's mostly just like eat on your own. Well,
there'd be a good amount of them going to the crew quarters to sleep, as you guys are. So you'd be like preparing for nighttime. And they'd be kind of like in the bunkhouses below deck.
I'd probably just pop in there then, see if there's like 3 or 4 of them or something like that. Just like I want multiple of them, see if they knew the people, and like give condolences, and also like try to raise spirits about it, like toast in their honor. And
yeah, as you come into the crew quarters, talking to a few of them, it seemed like 2 of them knew each other coming in. Like 2 of the ones that had died came into the crew knowing each other, and that not many of them knew outside. However, the one that was up on the deck next to Verna, that was pulled down by the eel, had been on 2 or 3 runs earlier, and they kind of talk about some of the. They share a few stories about him, but at the end of it, they kind of they don't share too much. And at the suggestion of a toast, they all kind of like grin appreciatingly. However, you see none of them partake in the alcohol, and as they're all kind of dispersing, the most veteran of the group kind of comes forward and goes, "Just so you know, Fanyu doesn't drink and doesn't appreciate the crew drinking during a run.
God damn it!
But you're outsiders, and we appreciate the gesture."
Soren, not really liking to drink either, and just trying to win points, just like holds it up and.
It's not great. What are you even drinking?
I just have like a boot flask of like swill, like just liquor, probably like potato vodka or something, or just like moonshine.
Yeah, so they all settle in for the night. Anything else you guys gonna do for the night?
I guess Marleone himself is gonna turn in, but before going to bed, he's gonna just kind of using Omen outside the ship, just kind of see if he can like land on the side of the ship somewhere, if there's like crew members, like more than one of them grouped together, and just see if Omen can listen in on any conversations potentially.
Sure, so go ahead and roll a perception for Omen.
Alright, I gotta look up Raven stats. I forgot to open that.
Should have a stat block, right?
Yeah, his stat block's just that of a standard Raven, just a slightly higher intelligence. Okay. Oh, nice.
Jesus. As Omen lands down in the port side of the ship, there's very few crew members on the deck now, but they're all in positions. There's 2 of them. There's only 2 that are next to each other. They're very spread out otherwise. And as Omen kind of lands on one of the hanging ropes above them, they don't seem to notice as he lands down, listening in. The conversation they're having, one of them leans in to the other and goes, "Oh, thank God it was only 3 this time. I've heard stories of the earlier years. Upon you coming down when he's still learning the ropes. Lost entire crews. It's before he started doing business, I suppose." And he kind of, the other one like elbows him and he goes, "Not to talk about the boss that way. Gotta get this cargo to Valencia in one piece. I want to make sure I get my cut. I want him kicking us out for talking about his past years and his rough trade experiences. He was us at some point." And it's like, "It's true, this might have been the biggest load I think we've carried yet. Aren't you worried about, what if we hit a rock? You're not sure this thing's gonna go up like a volcano?" And he goes, "If it blew up, at least it would save us from the water." And they kind of like quiet down for the moment and go back to looking out towards the river as they sail south.
Okay. I guess after hearing that, has Soren retired to bed yet, or is he like out on the docket on the top of the ship at this point?
Well, Soren's down in the crew quarters where you guys are all going to be going to sleep, but he's not asleep yet, I don't think, unless he is.
Okay.
Soren would know what Soren's doing.
Okay. Soren, what are you doing?
Yeah, if this was like, well, I'm probably trying to help the sailors mourn the loss of their friends right now. Since these sailors don't drink, I would probably be prepping for bed then. If it's late, if that's where we're at. Yeah, I guess it really depends on what time this happened. But
it's very late at night. Yeah.
Probably at the end, I've just now like taken the shot and gagged a little bit, tried to make it seem like I enjoyed it, and then would be, settling down. Probably crack the book open.
Okay, I guess. Sensing that this is an issue, I rolled perception wrong, by the way, but it was a crit, it didn't matter. I just see that now. Anyway, I'm gonna find my way to Soren.
How did you roll it wrong?
Ravens have a +3 in perception, not a +1. I just rolled based off the wisdom score.
Oh, okay. So it would have been a fucking 24 then.
Like I said, it didn't matter this time, but I see that now on the sheet that they have a +3. I'm gonna find Soren as quietly as I can.
I mean, you know where he is. Like,
okay,
yeah.
Hey, Soren.
Huh? Oh.
I don't mean to bother you, as you're probably going to be going to bed. But I was listening through Omen, because Omen's outside the ship right now. Some of the cargo on this boat, apparently, if it gets stimulated enough, like if we hit a rock, could go up like a volcano. After I listened to a couple of the crew members talk. That's a little concerning.
Why is it that whenever we're on boats, Marleon?
I know, we seem to have bad luck when it comes to that.
But yeah, I think they're carrying like gunpowder or something like that. Little packages of it. I saw it.
So you're not concerned?
No? Why?
Marleon's just gonna take a couple nods, like, okay.
You think we can use it as an angle or something?
I wasn't thinking of using it as an angle. I didn't really listen in on where they plan to haul. I don't know if all their cargo was going to Valencia or if it's just part of it. But I don't know. I'd prefer to land on the island in one piece.
Me too. They're gonna drop some of it at Glenmont. I was planning to see which of the cargo they were dropping here. But yeah, no. I mean, what? We'll be fine.
Okay. I'll just keep an open ear on that one then.
I mean, think about the last time we were on a boat with deadly cargo. We were fine then.
You do have a fair point. You're right. It shouldn't be anything to be concerned about just hearing on a whim, but here's to hoping we don't hit any rocks on the way to Glenmont. And Marleone's going to turn around and kind of wave goodnight and then go back to his area, I guess, for the night.
Okay. Any of you guys do anything for the rest of the night?
No, I think I'll be turned in.
Yeah, we'll call it.
Also, Ben, that's fine to do here.
Oh, cool.
Okay, so all of you take a long rest for the night. Make sure to recover any hit dice, health, spells, etc. As a couple of you are woken just by the crew members beginning to rise and head up to the deck itself. You see sunlight just beginning to peer through the hatch to the top deck. Going up there, you see the sun is in fact begun to rise in the eastern side, just barely peering over the trees. Looking towards Valax's cauldron now, as you're nearing the southeast ridge of the Isle of Glenmont. You have a direct line east into Valax's cauldron. You see it's just a dark mass of trees. There's a large canopy, large forest canopy top that goes on and on for miles and miles. And aside from the coastline, where there are a few inlets and beaches where maybe one could launch a rowboat or swim from, most of the coastline seems hostile and rocky. And the canopy that builds up after the beaches and the coastlines go into the forest is just pitch black, blotting out the sun even as it's coming down. That this is the densest forest that you've seen in quite some time. It puts the dark forest in which the Night Stalker was hiding to shame. You feel as though if you were here on a full moon, there are sections of this forest that would still be in complete darkness. You do see that Fanyu is up at the helm of the ship, piloting it, and talking to the helmsman, who's discussing some of the losses from the night before and how they're going to redistribute rations and requisitions and everything. However, as the party comes up, they kind of stop their conversation. And he goes, "Hopefully smooth sailing today, hmm?"
Indeed.
Agreed.
A calm journey can explode into chaos at any moment.
Well, let's hope there's no more of that. And he kind of takes a hold of the wheel and just stabilizes it as the ship continues forward. During the rest of the travel during the day, is there anything you guys want to do, take care of, talk about? This is going to be a travel section.
Okay.
Can I look at one of these like explodey tip spears?
Yeah. I mean, how, do you want to like ask somebody about them or?
Yeah, I guess I'll flag down another one of the battle boys if they can see him and ask him about the spear.
Sure. So as you come up, as you walk up to them, you see the more greenhorn of the two, kind of goes, "You're about to ask him something." He goes, "Oh, before you start," and he takes out the short sword and whips it around a few times, and you see him execute 3 perfect jabs with the short sword out of the air next to him, and he kind of like shrugs, like,
"That's good, lad. That's what you want."
You see, like,
now
a bag,
it's your turn to teach me
like
these spears that I saw the other day.
And he goes, and he kind of looks left to right as you say that, and he goes, "I suppose, but what exactly do you want to know?"
Well, they're curious, I suppose. I just wanted to know what they were about.
Well, I'm more than thankful for you showing me those moves the other night, but most of the weaponry that we use, it's not really seen anywhere else, and the boss has kind of made it explicitly clear that we're not to give it to anyone or give them information on how to make them.
Fair enough. From memory, were they just like standard like long spears and like length?
In terms of length, yes. However, the thickness of them, as you figured out, they were hollowed out. That they were much thicker than a normal spear, and they were heavier.
Okay.
To pack the material inside for when they fired them.
Interesting. So you make them yourselves then?
I didn't make mine, but I suppose the boss had something to do with that. He's always been a tinkerer, as you can tell. And he kind of like puts his hand on the railing of the ship, and he goes, "They don't really make ships that do the things that this one does. It's mainly Fan Yu that does all that. He spent his entire life modifying things."
Huh, that's something. Well, I was curious and just wondered, and Hicks kind of looks off. If you can use the spears like a spear, and also project them like a bow, it seems valuable. It seems like something that, well, I suppose it might make smuggling look like a side job. Just saying.
Go ahead and make a persuasion check.
It's awesome.
Yeah. As you say that, he goes, "I don't know if I'd call it smuggling, but purveyors of goods, sure. We're not selling anything stolen."
Have you ever tried firing the spear after you stabbed something with it?
Ah, that's the best.
And Hicks laughs a little bit. That's what I wanted to do.
Well, I know I'm supposed to do this, and he kind of looks over to the other battle boy that you were helping. He's like, he's talking to another crew member, and he goes, "If you want, depending what time we get in, if the sun's down, sometimes we do shore hunting. If we get out of the channel, away from the cauldron and away from the island itself, if we dock up to the south, I'll let you shoot it once. But you can't tell anyone."
Hicks just nods quietly and whispers, "If we don't get killed on that island, I'd be happy to."
Well, find me tonight then.
And then I'll be off.
All right. Hicks takes off.
I want to. I'm just gonna be like prepping Oak, just like double checking bags. I want to move some things. I want to grab a few things from his saddlebags.
Mm-hmm.
I want to just make sure I'm like stocked up. Like, I just want to get like a torch. And I'm gonna travel light because I don't know what's gonna happen like as soon as we get on the. But then I'm just packing up the rest of the stuff. I want to take a bag of marbles out as well, so I have it like on my person. And then I'm going to take my lockbox, put all of the gold that I had on my person. I don't think I don't remember if I had any money on me, but I'm gonna take like all of the gold that I had on my person, and all but one of my ink, and put it in my lockbox.
Okay.
And then I'm going to give the key to my cat. I have a cat now, guys.
Yeah. As you all come up this morning, you see Soren has a gray cat with him. None of you saw this the night before.
Yeah, I found a cat.
On a boat?
Yeah, she was here.
Can Marleone do a... I don't know, I want to, like... I'm curious, because I know Soren and Verna have been rather close on the spell thing. I'm curious, am I able to tell if it's a familiar or if it's, like, a genuine cat?
Go ahead and make an Arcana check.
Ooh, not good at those.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're no expert on what a magical cat would look like, but that is definitely a cat.
Gotcha.
Yeah. You feel as though it's not an illusion.
Okay.
So I'm gonna give Grey Malkin the key to my lockbox, and just gonna run off.
Wait, what's the cat's name?
Grey Malkin?
Oh, okay. I thought you said gray milk at first. I was like,
I thought it was too.
all right. So you give the cat the key, and then what's it doing?
He just like runs off.
Okay. Does cat stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
Everybody has
actually
pets these days.
no. I'm going to. Yeah.
All right.
Marleone, I guess, is going to take a bit of time out of the day. I don't know how long it'll be before we get there, but to teach Omen a bit of vocabulary, so that way, if I need to communicate with a person through Omen, I can actually speak instead of cawing.
Okay.
Even though it'd be really broken English. And then
Go ahead and make an animal handling check.
Yeah.
And what do you want to teach Omen? What do you want to try and teach Omen?
Honestly, just like basic basic words like help and come here and like hello, like a nice hello, and then maybe an angry hello for like being a dick.
Well, so yeah, Owen's pretty receptive to most of it. It's gonna take some more practice too, but manages to nail and repeat a few times the phrases that you tell Omen. However, with the hello, Omen prefers the mean hello. Seems like you're like now say it nice, like hello. It's like nicer. Hello. It's like, oof, all right.
Okay.
All right. Arond or Pate?
I was biding my time, chilling out.
Yeah, I'll kind of be scribbling in my notebook, just kind of taking note of what happened.
Okay. As you're writing things, like Pig is like watching you write, and even though Pig can't read, is kind of like looking up at your face and seeing like, is this something like, is he happy about writing this? Is he not? Like, When you seem like unsure about something, Pig just kind of looks at you and goes,
Yeah, you're right.
for the rest of the day, there is no major calamity that happens with the boat. It gets to be about 3 or 4 in the afternoon as the sun is beginning to crest over the top of the mist that hangs over Glenmont itself, but then comes back out into view as you reach around to the southern section of the island. That reverse waterfall kind of void effect that the river has around the island itself begins to flow up, and you see this small cove begin to reveal itself from the side of the island, still shrouded in that mist, but just barely visible. As you're all watching that, I want everyone to make a perception check.
Double crit Soren.
Holy shit.
Whoa, that's really unlikely.
It's a 1 in 200 chance, right?
Considering that everyone else rolled less than 10.
Except I accidentally rolled performance, so it should be a minus.
Still a crit.
It should be a 0 instead of a
count the
+5.
roll. I take it as like if you were in person, you would have just rolled a d20. So,
yeah, I just misclicked.
yeah, as you're all watching the cove appear on the starboard side of the ship, off the port side, Soren, you hear off in the distance this very slight flapping sound as you look towards Valax's cauldron. The mountain ranges coming closer and closer as you get to the southern section of the coastline. You see 2 winged figures, not necessarily birds. You see these like arms and legs kind of hanging down from them, just very high up above the boat, probably 150, 200 feet up, really, really far, flying over the boat towards the island itself. And as you're looking, you see Fan Yu meets your gaze and looks up at them as well. And he kind of points up to him and goes, "This is why you don't fly." As you see closer now, these seem to be 2 harpies that are just very, very, very high up, flying towards the mist. And as they get towards the mist, you see them, one of them, like the wing kind of gets seized for a moment and wraps up against itself. It kind of tries to sustain itself with the other one. And you hear now all of you hear the shrieks that come from them as they kind of become enveloped in the mist. They stop. One of them falls and disappears into the waterfall void next to the island, as the other one immediately turns around and begins flying away, shrieking as it does back to the eastern side of the channel, back to Valactus Cauldron.
This island just becomes more and more welcoming by the minute.
As over the next hour or two, as the sun gets lower in the sky to the west, the boat begins to make its way. It makes a sharper turn to the right as it comes to the south section of the island. That cove now visibly maybe a mile and a half off from where you are. At this time, the crew member, the battle boy, comes up to Hixus and kind of like taps you on the shoulder, and he's like, "Looks like we're not gonna have enough time. Do it now if you want."
Hixus would nod and then kind of like point his head in the direction like a lead the way sort of.
And as he walks down, he opens up the hatch going to the crew quarters and leads you down there through the crew quarters, and then to the right there's a section that's like a locked like fenced lockbox. Think like almost like a gun locker where it has like that mesh metal in front of it, but just like a rudimentary like chain and padlock on it. And he kind of takes a key out and begins unlocking it. And as he opens it up, you see there's 10 of these spears that are just perfectly brand new, lined up and locked. And you see that's like there's 10 of them in front of you, and they go back several rows, all strapped together. And between them there are these columns of that same packed material, the powder between them. He takes one out and kind of like pops it out and looks around the room and goes, "I'm not really sure where to do it though. It's too bright on the ship right now, and if maybe we can find somewhere down here, somewhere quiet enough. If we go up top, the boss is gonna have my head." You can tell like the look in his eye right now isn't like he's not doing this for him. He's like, I want to impress this dude.
I guess I don't know if it was communicated by Soren directly to the rest of the party that there's potentially explosives. I think Soren and Marleone know about, but I don't know if anyone else does.
They haven't said anything.
I suppose Higgs would say then, do you think you can find a spot?
Maybe one of the upper storerooms away from the main cargo, but we gotta be quick about it.
All right then.
As he leads you back, some other crew members are walking by. He kind of like stands up for a moment and just leans a spear into a corner and pretends to be like looking at something else while they walk by, and then takes it. And you guys make your way to the upper storeroom, not the one that's down below that Soren went to look at all of the. This is like a much smaller, like personal store area, and you see him as he walks into the room. He leans a spear up against the doorway, closes the door behind you guys, and begins like moving small crates and satchels and stuff out of the way to clear like a lane down the center of this, the center of the storeroom. There's a good like 50 feet, like front to back, because it runs along the side of the ship. That's one long lane. He goes, "Now we just need a target." And just kind of looks around the room. He begins searching. If you want to take a moment to look around too, you can. You can make an investigation check just to get a bearing for what's in there. Looking around, you see most of it is like crew supplies, spare clothing, foodstuffs. There are two heavily reinforced iron-banded barrels in the corner that are kind of like packed away. But beyond that, there's like a crate full of linens that you find that you feel like would be the only like soft material to fire something into. Otherwise, it's like food would work, but you'd like destroy a bunch of food, or there are like spare weapons or ammunition that that wouldn't really make for a good target.
Hixus would point to the crate of linens then, and what about that?
As you do that, he goes, "Oh, that'll work." And you see he had his hand on one of these. I was thinking something a little sturdier like this, but I don't want anything ricocheting down here. I suppose you're right. And he takes his hand off of it and walks over to you. He pushes the linen crate in front to the end of the hall. Walks back over to you, and hands you the spear. So holding it for a moment, it's pretty hefty, like compared to a normal, like even especially your slimmed down halberd right now. It's like, this is pretty hefty. He kind of takes a moment to show you how to hold it, where like you brace one side under your arm next to your rib cage, and the other one you point forward. And he reaches into his satchel and pulls out a small, like a small key hook that he hands to you, and he goes, "So there's a slot on the right side. You take the key hook, put it in the front end, and pull to the back. Never the other way. Front end from the end of the spear towards you. That'll set off the charge. And just make sure there's no friends on the other end of this thing when you set it off."
Hixus would nod then. What happens if you push the key forward?
Just don't. Nothing good.
Alright. And then I suppose Hixus would square up and try and shoot this crate. I assume it would be like a ranged attack?
Yeah, so you square up and go ahead and make a ranged attack with... you would not be proficient with this.
Oh, okay.
Just because you are completely unfamiliar with it. However, holding it for a moment, you feel like this would be...
So many 20s today.
As you heft it up for a moment, he's like still explaining a little bit of like how to hold it properly, and you just take the key slot out and just pull it back, and with one strong motion, you feel that like as it's pulling back almost in slow motion, you feel it click to the back, and a small as the whole rod expands for a moment, and you see that puff of smoke, that loud bang explosion happens out the front of the spear. All of you up the top of the ship here, down from below deck. A loud explosion similar to the spears from the day before. And Hicks is holding it straight forward. You see the spearhead actually rotate a bit on a perfect spiral as it sticks into the linen crate in front of you, breaks one of the planks and goes right into the pile of linens. And you actually hear like a break, a kind of, and then another, as the projectile disappears into the crate against the wall. The guy next to you kind of is like taken aback for a moment as the smoke fills the room a little bit and begins to go up towards the ceiling. He kind of like holds his chest and he goes, "My God, you're a natural."
Beginner's luck. And Hixus chuckles a little bit.
It smells distinctly like sulfur and like carbon in the air. It's pretty strong. As the smoke clears from in front of you, you see the hole that the arrow or the spearhead made into the crate. You see light peering through the other side.
Shit. Sorry, lads. Is that gonna be all right?
He kind of looks forward and he goes, "We should get out of here." The rest of you hear this explosion up top, and like distinctly coming from below deck. All of you are familiar with what the sound is at this point, hearing all the spears the day before. And Fanyu stops for a moment, tells his helmsman to grab the wheel as he begins making his way down. And he goes, "You all heard that?"
Yep.
Oh yeah.
What?
Go ahead and make a deception check, Soren.
Oh, wow.
And he just kind of like shakes his head when you say that and goes, "It sounded like below deck." And he like takes out he has like his hand on like a short sword on his side, but doesn't draw it quite yet. And he points to two of the crew members. He goes, You, with me." they begin making their way down.
Yeah, I'll like follow.
Okay. Hixus, what are you doing in the meantime?
If the battle boy is leading me to an exit, says we should get out of here, I suppose I'd just follow. But definitely the smile from the boat ride is definitely back, and he would try and pass the remainder of the spear to the battle.
As you hand it over, he goes, "No, they catch us with that. They'll know everything. Just get rid of it."
Then I suppose Hixus would just kind of drop it.
Okay.
While I'm walking, can I use Gaze of Curad to look below, like through to see if I can see things moving around under?
Yeah.
Like, could I find them before? I want to find them before Fanyu does. I'm gonna use my X-ray vision to. Yeah, I'm gonna X-ray vision and like look around as I'm just like trying to like follow behind them.
Yeah.
And, like,
So
look through the ground.
everything like fades into this strange transparency in front of you, and below you, about like one deck down and a few like tens of feet in front of you, you see the crew member and Hixus like engaged like quick discussion, and you see Hixus just take the spear and just kind of drop it on the floor next to him. You see there's like smoke hanging in the room as the crew member grabs him by the sleeves and pulls him out into the hallway to the main crew quarters. And as your vision retracts, you see them both like reaching for something in a cupboard next to them. The crew member digs through some drawers. He's like, "We need to look busy. Here," and he hands you a sharpening belt, like a blade belt, like a leather for sharpening a sword or a dagger. And then he hands you like a really rusty old like dagger that's been sitting in this drawer for like maybe a month or two. It's just been like it's completely, because it's like been on salt water the whole time. It's just like completely tarnished and rusted over. As the crew member looks to you and then just like jumps into a bunk next to you as Fanyu and everybody else comes downstairs to the crew quarters. He jumps into a bunk, just throws the sheets over his head and just goes. As Fanyu comes down with the two crew members, he goes. He has his hand on the hilt of his short sword, and he goes, "What happened down here? Did somebody fire something off?"
Hicks is gonna kind of be standing with like the belt and dagger in hand, kind of like looking in the direction of the hall, and he's gonna say, "I heard a sound."
Yeah, we all did.
All right.
Well, it sounded like a spear. Have you seen anything down here? He's like looking like back and forth really quickly.
Hicks would look at the dagger, say, "Been working on this for all the good it did." He's like, wave the rusty dagger.
Go ahead and make a deception check.
I'm not good at that either.
Lots of talking for Hixus today. Not as much poking. As
killing me.
as Fanyu looks to the dagger and back to you, he kind of like takes a look at the sharpening belt and he goes, "Let me see your hands." As he walks up to you, he takes his hand off the sword, but he walks up to you.
Right, Hixus would let it hold his hands out.
As you hold one of his hands out, he kind of like grabs your right hand like towards him a little bit, and he looks you right in the eye and he goes, "You didn't see anything."
I guess being like kind of seeing the writing on the wall, Hicks is gonna be like, "All right, you got me. I shot the spear, and it wasn't supposed to go through the crate, but it did."
And as you say that, he's like shock on his face. Through?
Marleona's also afraid.
And then Hixus would motion towards the crate, and he would kind of like point to like the light source coming through the other.
Yeah. As you all look down the hall, like all the way to the end of the ship, all the way to the back, where the storage room meets the back of the ship, you see a small speck of light peeking through a crate and like a smoke-filled room that's slowly dissipating. There's like you can see the outside through the back of the ship, and Fanyu's face goes like white for a moment. As he looks over and he goes, "I've never had anything go through the ship."
Really?
And he like looks back to you with this like shock in his face. And he kind of shakes it off for a moment and goes, Nevertheless, since we're nearing the end of your journey here, I'm going to ask you one thing. You need to answer it honestly.
All right.
I know you didn't break in to my cargo. And he looks to the end of it, like the end of the crew quarters where the locker is, and he sees it's unlocked and open. And he goes, "You didn't break into it, and you don't have a key. How'd you get it?"
With all due respect, sir, I don't know if I can answer that.
Well, you could ditch the all due respect part because you've clearly made it clear that that's not what you're looking for. It's respect. I'm going to ask you again.
Oh, give me a break, man. It wasn't their fault. I pushed him. We were having fun with the spears, and between that and the boats,
whose
not
fault?
For the sea monster, I think y'all would be having fun out here.
Having fun is not in our job description here. And we do our best to make light the times that are easier on the water. But the reason we survive is because we're attentive. That could attract any manner of sea beast, other marauders. That was not quiet. You could hear that for a mile. So who was it? My crew. Who?
Look, man, if anyone's gonna be punished, it should be me. It was my idea. I pushed for it. The lad doesn't deserve anything that you have to give on him. If you need payment for service, I'll give you some of my gold to patch the ship. It's all well and due.
Go ahead and
But
make
he's just a kid.
That's not good. Go ahead and make an intimidation check.
That one I'm actually decent at. Oh, that's good.
I agree. You're gonna pay him with my gold? This is what I pay you for?
Well, it's my gold.
And finally, he kind of puts a hand up and goes, "Listen, this is a waste of time. We're at the end of your journey here. And if you're not willing to do me the respect, following the rules on my ship, then I see no need to go the extra mile for you or your friends if they are not willing to tell me who it was. But an assurance is an assurance, and we have reached the cove, at least within the hour. That's as far as I'm going. You make your own way to the beach."
I guess at that, Hixus would sigh and say, all right. I'll take you to him then if it's gonna bring trouble down on the rest of this lot. I suppose it was his choice at the end of the day.
And he just kind of stands there expectingly.
And then I guess I'd lead him to the crew quarters if he's still there.
But you guys are all you're all in the same room as the guy.
Oh, is he just in
He's
the
like
bunk
he's
in
like
the
at 2
corner?
beds down, pretending to be asleep.
Oh, and I suppose
'Cause
Hixus,
there are a few sleeping crew members in there. The night crew.
Hixus would just kind of point and be like, sorry, lad.
And you point to the actual one.
Yeah.
All right. As Fanyu puts a hand to you for a moment and walks over to the bed and just kicks it with his boot. And he kind of the crew member laying there like was pretending snoring. He's like, and he kicks it and then he goes. Like just pretending to just snore harder as he like grabs him by the collar and like throws him to the floor of the thing. He kind of like scrambles up to his feet and just like stands up straight in front of Fanyu. He's just like completely like shit-faced, like scared, and standing in front of him. Fanyu takes a moment, looks at him, and goes, "Let me see your hand." And he looks down and brings him up, and he kind of, sulfur. Do you know where these are going? and how dangerous they are. And the only reason we brought them out is because of the eels. He goes, I know, I understand, I'm sorry. And he just kind of like grabs him by the shirt. And he goes, go up by the helmsman. I don't want to see you for the next 2 days. On this ship, you are to be like my shadow, always behind me. Never visible. And he just kind of nods and like lets go of him, and he just like butts between all of you and runs right up the stairs and just disappears. And he kind of sighs for a moment. Looks back to the group. Albeit delayed, at least I know that we weren't under attack. I'll take you to the cove. I won't dock, but I'll get you as close as I can. But I advise this impulsive behavior on a place like the Green Isle. It's not going to get you to the places you want to be. And try to refrain from it if possible, especially with anything explosive. And he kind of walks back towards the ladder up to the deck of the ship and disappears.
Hixus is gonna look at that hole again, and he's gonna kind of like, I assume it's like finger size.
It's like no, it's bigger than that. It's because it's like a pretty large spearhead that it went through. The spearhead's gone. You can't find it if you go over there. It's probably like 3 or 4 fingers wide.
He's just gonna look at this whole scary tech there, toting around here. Between that and the Outrider boats, I don't know what to make of this place. These people.
Marleone's gonna reminisce about the ship traveling north. You should have been there when we fought the people with Kron.
Where do you get off, Hixus? Going off on your own? Shooting this without inviting anyone else?
Marleone's gonna lean in close to Hixus so that way he can hear, but kind of keep it quiet. Next time, if you need to hide an explosion, come find me first. I can help you with that. And he's gonna walk away.
As you're saying that, one of the sleeping crew members in the room, he goes, if you're not gonna hide explosions, can you hide your mouth and keep it down? We're trying to sleep in here.
He's just gonna like wave his hand at him, and then he's gonna, I guess, pass by whoever's interesting. He's like, in case you were wondering, it was us.
Marleone's going to Marleone. Hi, I'm now Dakota. It hasn't happened in a while. I used to do that a lot.
It's really
it did happen a lot in person too. We'd spend 12 hours together and be like,
Marleone's gonna wait. I am Kron. Soren's going to walk to the back of the hole and cast Mending to fix that hole.
Oh, okay. Right on.
So as you place your hand against it, you manage to close the wood of the ship. However, you feel like the armor on the outside that has been breached doesn't close all the way, but it definitely gets rid of the light coming through.
Sure.
Shit.
All right, so you guys want to go back to the top of the ship?
Yep. Yeah, I suppose so. There's a lot of practicality for something like that. I can't think of a militia that wouldn't appreciate a few of those.
Walking back to the deck of the ship, off the starboard side now, the ship only having one sail let down. You see that cove maybe a quarter mile away from where you are as the ship kind of drifts towards it a little bit. That mist is beginning to fill the air where you guys are. And you all feel this beginning of it's just kind of like an uneasy churn in the bottom of your stomach as the mist kind of takes over the ship itself. Once it's about only about 1/8 of a mile, it's getting pretty close. You see Fan Yu put his hand up, and one of the crew members throws an anchor out to the port side as the ship comes to a stop, just barely off the coast itself. And Fan Yu walks down the stairs to all of you. who are you kind of gather your things up.
Is Davrick with us?
Davrick is with you guys, yeah.
Okay.
He was down in the quarters for most of this, but he comes up with his few belongings, and Fanyu goes, "Well, it's been interesting, to say the least. I appreciate that, but try and keep yourself out of trouble, and like I said, don't blow anything up if you're not supposed to."
I would say the same to you.
And he kind of he looks at you curiously for a moment, and he goes, well, I can give you one of the outriders to get you to shore if you want, but I have somebody bring it back. I can't leave it with you for you to return home. You'll have to find your own way back.
It's a deal.
He just like steps in front of Soren before he says anything. Yes.
I'll drive.
As
do you have any?
He kind of gestures to one of the crew members to unload one of the boats. The side of the hull itself like falls down into the water, and allows you all to board if you wish. I guess we just don't get music anymore.
I can still get music.
Yeah, me too.
It's cool.
Yeah, me too.
Do you have any recommendations on getting off of the island?
Oh wait, can you guys hear me?
I don't think you can
Yeah,
hear us.
I can.
Hello, John. Can you hear me?
John!
Can you guys hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. All right, I can't hear any of you. Hang on.
Fanyu,
Better?
how do we get off of the island when we're done? I have a feeling
One.
this seems like an island that you just never leave. Like there's a fucking waterfall all the way around it. There's a
Surrounded by fucking
There's a-
sea monsters.
there's a force field.
It's
like any one of those things.
Okay, wait, can you hear me now?
Yee.
We can hear you.
No,
Yes.
I can hear all of you. What the
All right,
fuck?
yes.
All right, fuck Discord. All right, sorry. What was the last thing I said?
So since there are 3 redundant defenses on this town or on this island, how do we get off of it, Fanyu?
Well, like I said, I haven't personally met anybody that comes off, but
Nice.
seem like a capable lot, and
Yeah.
I may have. I don't mean to paint a hostile picture of the elves. They're just. I don't know much about them. That.
Just ask
If
because you seem creative and I trust your judgment. And if you have any advice, or how would
Well-
you get off of the island?
How I would get off is I would keep my ship, but fortunately I need it.
You don't know where a man could get one of those spears, dude.
He looks to you, and like at this point, he doesn't seem so like mad as just kind of like amused, and he goes, "Well, I couldn't tell you, but maybe a few people in Valencia in the coming months will." And just kind of winks at you.
It's not.
If you're going to sell them in Valencia, why not just sell one now? At least you'll get guaranteed return on your investment.
No, you're not wrong, but as you've, I'm sure, figured out, I run on a business of assurances, and I've assured that the count that they have ordered is the account they will receive in this shipment. I can't part with a single one of these. I already have to eat the price for the amount of ammunition we used.
And maybe the linens.
I don't think I should be eating that price, but that's a conversation for a different time, perhaps. Another day.
I'll be going then.
As he just kind of chuckles and helps you guys load stuff onto the outrider boat. One of the crew members climbs onto it with you. You're all kind of packed in there next to each other, but as he stands up next to the lever that releases it next to you guys, he goes, "Well, best of luck, and I have to admit, if there's anybody that's going to come back, it's probably going to be you lot." When he pulls the lever, as you slide down the side of the ship, crash into the water. As you're next to the ship now, the crew member that's piloting it is actually the not the not fucked up battle boy that was with you, Hixus.
Oh, nice.
Who's piloting it towards shore, towards the isle, as the mist just begins to set in. You look behind you and you see the junk, the massive ship behind you begin to disappear as you become thicker and thicker into this mist. The side of the ship you see now reads on the starboard side, which is not visible when you left, when you're at port, because you're on the port side. It just reads Promise on the side of it.
Oh, I meant to ask that. That's the name of his ship?
Yep.
Thanks for... I have that written down. It's one of my notes. I need to know the name of this ship.
Yeah. As it disappears into the mist behind all of you. The crew member's just pushing forward, and the island is like hard to see too because you're in the thick of the mist now. He's just pushing forward on the levers back and forth.
Hixus would turn to the battle boys. You're not gonna let me take it to the island.
And he looks up and he goes, "No, unfortunately, I have to bring this back. We only have 4 of them, and if we don't have one, we're missing part of Promise. So,
what if I just drove it to the island?"
And he's like paddling. And he's like, "I'll take you to the island, but I'm bringing it back."
Spoil sport.
Marleone is feeling reminiscent of his past, not his past, but past experiences. He's gonna start talking to the pilot. What is your name?
My name? Why, it's Jimmy, of course. No, it's I am Wudug.
Udug.
Wudug.
Wudug. Do you have a family?
He kind of like looks at you confused for a moment, and he goes, "I'm not sure how this is relevant."
It's just a question.
Yes, I have a few siblings and one parent, but...
Do you have a wife and kids?
I don't. Not many on the ship Fawn's haulers do.
Are you on good terms with your family?
He like stops for a moment and looks around to the rest of the people on the boat.
Someone's gonna smile.
Like, just eyes Marleone.
It's just
you see him dig down to the collar of his shirt and pull out a same small metallic whistle that Fawn Yu had around his neck. That was what he blew on to signal the attack from the eels.
It's just a question.
He just kind of plays with it in his hand as he's piloting the ship and just looks at you very like concernedly.
Sorry, what did Marleone ask? Sorry, I missed that a bit through Discord.
He asked if he has any family and if he's close or on good terms with that family.
He's gonna turn away from the pilot and... Fuck, we're so close together he'd probably hear me if I spoke.
You're very packed in on this boat.
Never mind, Marleone's just gonna stop talking.
Marleone just turns away and doesn't say anything else to the dude. And he just looks to Hixus and he goes, "Are all of your friends as strange?"
Yes.
He just... When Marleone is a little embarrassed to ask, we think you should come with us. Whatever Fawn Yu is paying, we'll pay you double. You are safer with us, and you'll retire early, and...
He laughs when you're saying this, and he goes, "Oh, friend, you think you could pay me double what Fawn Yu's paying me? You couldn't even pay me half."
If that were the case, you would hire guards who wouldn't flounder with a short sword.
It's because what we do doesn't require a short sword, but I appreciate the insult.
Yeah, Hixus hit the short sword come and be like, "Ooh, easy there, man."
I can demonstrate if you wish. And he stops paddling the boat for a moment. You just kind of come to a small stop in the water.
He's like right on the edge of the back of the boat, right?
It's not like right on the edge. It's like maybe 2 or 3 feet forward. But he goes, as he like stops the boat and he goes, "I'm putting my life at risk already, bringing you to the shores of the Green Isle. I'm not sure why Fan Yu entertained this kind of belligerence on his ship, but this is my ship right now, and I will not. Do you want to get there or not?
Look, man, they're just... Well, I don't really know what they're doing, but...
I just want you to come with us, Saul. But I can see you're not interested.
Quite. As he begins pushing the levers again to get you towards the shore. At this point, the mist begins to clear on the shoal itself, and you see this fine white sand kind of laps up some waves from the channel itself as the boat turns to the side and kind of beaches itself up on the sand itself. He helps you unload some of your things onto the beach. You're handing it off so it doesn't get dropped in the water. As you all, I'm assuming you want to take your first steps onto Glenmont.
I'm happy to have solid ground under my feet.
Yeah, it's a nice
same.
feeling.
All right, so you guys step off and you feel that queasiness for a moment, just the not being on a boat anymore for the first time in 2 days. Solid ground kind of feels strange for a moment as they get the last of your goods off and finally unload Oak from this smaller boat. You were packed in there like sardines. He kind of like gets him off onto the island and goes, well, and he looks to Hixus and he goes, I hope you make it off and we cross paths again someday. Maybe we can spar.
Come back in 10 years, kid. And Hixus would slap him on the shoulder.
And he laughs. And, like, looking at him, he's probably, like, definitely older than you, which is funny. Because you're, what, 22?
23.
Oh, 23. Since this isn't the younger of the two battle boys you were with. But he like, chuckles, and he like, pats you back. And just kind of, like, glares at Marleone and Soren, and then nods to everybody else. And
I am 22. Sorry.
puts one leg on the ship and pushes off the sand with the other, and the boat rocks out into the shoal itself, and he pushes one lever to make it turn as you see the small rider disappear into the mist south of the beach.
Doesn't seem like a bad gig. I knew a few lads that turned to sailing after mercenary work dried up. Seems like a decent way to make a living.
I'd agree. Either that guy was bluffing or Fan Yu really is overpaying them. I mean, what's your take on him? Was he like? Would you pay them? What, he has to be paying them 100 gold a month? I mean, how much?
Well, if they're pulling 90 gold from each of us, not to mention whatever it is they're hauling, I can't imagine those spears are going for anything less than 100 gold apiece.
Marleone's just gonna blurt out, I could have secured us an exit, and then just get quiet again.
Well, we tried.
He's a good guy.
Which is why I wanted him to come with us. I thought he would be a good addition to the team.
And Hixus is gonna look at his like split mail and be like, sailing's more for the live type anyway.
So as the boat disappears to the south through the mist, you all stand together with your belongings and your companions on the southern shore of Glenmont, the white sand kind of just soaking up the waves as they lap over very quietly. It's eerily silent on this beach. You don't hear any birds or any kind of wildlife. Looking up, though, you see the beach is kind of like a small alcove, and there are these two short cliff faces, not more than 10-15 feet high, that go in each direction, and there's two paths going up to the top, and you see a small canopy of trees that lines the forest beyond. The trees are this dark, kind of rich green, and they have these lichens and moss growing all across their trunk and bark and roots and everything going all the way up. It's a vibrant kind of green hue that bounces off the mist on this island.
Is there like a clear defined like pathway that goes into it, or is it just all like natural, like looks untouched?
Yeah, looking around, immediately where you are, there's no signage, there's no road, there's no path. If you guys make your way up off the beach to the small, like, 15-foot cliffside that's that's overlooking the beach. You look around and you see there's no defined road or anything. That it just seems to be not necessarily like untouched, but you can't tell which way somebody would go from
here. We don't have. So okay, is Glenmont a city, or is it also the name of the island?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Davrick kind of looks to all of you and goes,
"You know where you're going, right?"
We've heard
Yeah.
representation of the name Glenmont as a form of city, but also it appears that people reference it as the name of this island, so I'm not sure if we heard information, or at least I'm not sure if I heard information correctly when we were looking for passage to it. Do you know how to get to the elves?
I've never been here before, but I know it's kind of one and the same. I've never heard anybody refer to it separately either.
Well,
This is gonna be a great adventure, guys.
so we're just on a beach right now, or we were.
you're like up at the top of the beach, like away from that. You're like off the sand itself. It's like a 15-foot like little cliff thing that overlooks the beach that you climbed up and went around on top of.
Well, maybe we set a camp close to the beach here and then start scouting out, see if we can make contact with any of the locals. Maybe somebody who could, give us a tour of the land.
They're giving tour. That's fair enough, I guess.
In regards to the sword, I would prefer to not give it to whomever is in charge here. I imagine what would be stopping them from merely taking it from us, and then we have gained nothing. If possible, I'd like to find an itinerant wizard who might be able to tell us something about it without wanting to keep it, or who would imprison us.
Yeah, if we can avoid imprisonment, I've had a good amount to that. I'd be done with that for now.
I don't know a lot about the elves here, but I do know that they are long-lived, and that there are some powerful. There are masters of the arcane. If we can just find one who is acting of their own interest, then perhaps we can have a mutually beneficial arrangement.
At one point, it was mentioned, and this has been bothering me ever since, that the elves here speak in, I think they called it the tongue of minds. Does that mean that they speak like you, Soren? Or does anybody have any information on that? So I don't really want someone prodding in my head if I can avoid it, because that also creates problems of now you can't think about the sword or our purpose here without someone leeching onto that.
Yeah, it does kind of sound like my ability, though it's hard to say exactly what they meant. It's pretty vague. I think, and from what I understand of mine, it's one-way connection. I can send messages to you. I can touch your minds, but I've never been able to rest assured that I'm not able to read your thoughts. Or to even receive thoughts back. Right? Have we done it two-way or one?
I think we've done it one way.
Okay.
The only time I changed that was because you were doing a telepathic mimery to a giant that spoke to Verna that whispered in your ear.
Yes.
To respond to the giant. And I was like, holy shit. All right, we gotta simplify this.
Our greatest play. So it may be beneficial to us to have some countermeasures set up. A simple phrase or something to keep your surface thoughts muddled.
Right. Something
just to repeat,
like
or
code words of sorts. Like, don't think of the sword as the sword, think of it as this instead.
I don't know if I know how to do that.
maybe best just to think of a single phrase or word and just repeat it in your head over and over again if we are encountered. If you feel like your thoughts are being read or someone is in your...
I'm trying to do it myself, and I'm just getting the image of like a ginger root, just repeatedly.
What?
A ginger root.
That's no good.
That's delicious. I had ginger once.
This is already shit.
While I have the chance here, I guess pondering on that thought, Marleon's gonna kind of walk away. I want to go forage for potentially more nodding wheat.
First off, yeah, do we want to set camp here? I mean, just have kind of a beachhead. And
I'll help make a camp.
I'd rather not just randomly walk off into the forest. I think we should try to get a lay of the land.
Also, I should note, where you are right now, the mist is heavy enough that you can't tell which direction the sun is from where you are. You know which way is north because of the beach.
Could we see much of the island on our way in? Like, if we push like uphill, we'll get out of the mist?
There was no top of the mountain top of the island that was revealed through the mist.
I will go ahead and pull out our trusty map. This has like at least a rough sketch around the Isle of Glenmont.
Oh, I didn't know you got a map of Glenmont.
Well, it's not of Glenmont.
Well, you guys have a world map.
Kal'Araan, yeah.
Oh,
But
I thought...
It appears here that there's a few buildings that look like it's just straight north. But it could just be like off. I don't know how accurate this is.
Which one are you looking at? The
I'm
new one?
looking at the old regional one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, those are both. I mean, if you look at the new one, you'll see how the beach is set up. But
yeah.
The old one is accurate. The old one's accurate too. Yeah. It just doesn't have the beach.
So like we're like right south of where that big tree is.
Correct.
So we just have a way of maintaining north in the mist. I think we have a good chance of getting there. I'd rather not spend the night out here, judging by what people have said about this place.
That said, I don't know if we can afford going into a city. What if we're not? We may end up in a cell by the end of.
Do we have a rough idea how far across the Isle of Glenmont is? Or at all?
Should one or two of us stay outside the city with the sword and have the others go in and check it out?
Just to answer your question, Marleon, as you were sailing around it, because the Arm Channel, you had to go all the way to the south side, and it's very windy and like, and you had to like take your time going down. You feel like it would only take about a day to walk the entire island, like from one end to the other. If you were to like hike the entire time nonstop straight through, somewhere around like a day. It's a pretty large like island just to be across a river.
Do we want to leave this up to a majority vote for where we want to stay? Because I do agree, I don't want to spend a night on the shore given the dangers that lurk here, but there is the alternative of going into a city potentially unprepared or unwelcome.
If we do go to the city, maybe one or two go in and scout it out and get a feel for how we'll be received. We have no idea how they will accept a group of humans and halflings. That's everyone, right?
And dwarves.
And
a half elf.
And a pig.
And the donkey.
My point exactly.
Well, I mean, I'm all about scouting. It's kind of what I do best, but if I'm going to do that, someone else should probably hold on to the sword this time for once. Because the last thing I want is for me to not come back and the sword is in their possession or something. But I would prefer to not go alone. I agree with having multiple people go.
I can come with.
I'll volunteer to take the sword off your hands.
I don't want this.
Oh, I just lost roll 20.
Oh, I
Yeah.
did too.
I am the only one in roll 20 right now.
Everything.
Yeah, that's what I said.
That's
as
not
well.
true. I don't know.
I'm the only one in here.
Huh.
There's
What the
everyone
fuck?
else.
God damn it.
Oh, hey.
That's a lot of damn it.
That's a lot of... They sawed my boat in half. There we go. There we go. Back.
Hey.
I'm just gonna reach... Oh, wait.
Oh,
There we go. Oh,
We in there.
all right. It's updating. It's fine.
Hey.
All right. So what's your guys' plan?
Pate and Marleone head into town. Everyone else stays 100 yards outside of city limits. Kal'Araan takes the sword. Soren doesn't want anything to do with the sword.
Okay, so Aron's taking the sword.
If he wants to.
Yep, I'll happily take that off your hands for now.
All right.
I will...
Make sure you transfer that over.
Quick question: do any of us speak Elf?
I do.
I know some Elvish words, but I don't speak Elf.
He knows a thing called a spell that does the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Alright, well, if Marleone knows it, that should be good enough.
The names I gave you are Elvish, but that's just about all the Elvish I know.
I think I know some Elvish swear words, but I don't think those will be very useful here.
Probably not.
I clench my hand tightly into a fist for a brief moment. And shake it off. Huh. All right.
So, you all want to try and head north? What are you doing?
Yeah, I guess head north then.
I just want to make sure you guys aren't setting camp. You're just going for it.
Yeah.
All right.
So we're gonna push forward, and then I think we should stop as a group outside of the city, and then the delegation should.
Should go and try to make people welcome us.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, what's your marching order here?
Marleone's gonna go first because I think I'm the only one who will be able to see at some point.
All right, Marleone's in front. Who wants to take the rear?
I do not.
Daverick goes, me either.
We're all, I guess, are we... This is just a scouting party, right?
I thought this was everybody.
Everyone's
Yeah,
going
yeah,
closer,
everyone.
but a bunch
Okay.
of us are gonna hang outside the city while me and Pate, I guess, go inside.
Alright, I'll take the rear then, that's fine.
I'll be right behind Marleone.
Okay. So yeah, go ahead, roll a perception for Hixist.
Nice.
Alright.
So yeah, also I'm going to say Marleone and if Fate's like helping you forge the way forward, I'll say you can assist if you want to make a survival check
Okay.
for navigating, unless you have some sort of navigation device
Nope.
to maintain a path northward. There is no defined path.
I was hoping that I had bought a compass, but I don't. I do not see a compass.
I don't think so.
Man, I made a big ass list of stuff and I didn't get a compass.
So
I have a compass.
was Pate gonna help Marleone out there?
Oh, I was. I would like to assist.
Okay.
With my eyes.
With my looks like north.
Lend you my eyes.
So you guys spend a good amount of the rest of the day hiking through this kind of like, it's not, the trees in this forest aren't necessarily like pushed up against each other, not a solid canopy, but it feels denser than it should be because of this mist. That you only see about maybe 10 or 12 trees ahead of you in the thickest parts of it, and maybe like 20 or 30 ahead of you in the thinnest. It's a pretty thick mist that hangs over this area. But you manage to push your way through, and as the sun disappears somewhere, to your left, the mist kind of lit to a golden yellow. You feel as though you're able to maintain a relative northward path. Marleone, as you're continuing, the sun is now gone, the darkness begins to set in. Are you guys going to light torches at all?
Yeah, I can't see in the dark, so once it gets dark, I would light a torch.
Okay.
I have actually I would light my lantern, but I have lanterns and torches and all kinds of light if anyone wants.
Okay. So a couple of you, I would assume, or at least one of you has a light source going with you. And as you're continuing as sturdy northward as you can, and there are a few times where Pate just kind of spots, how many trees you've gone left and how many trees you've gone right, and he kind of corrects your path if you've gone too far one way or the other. Up along your path ahead, Marleone, you feel as though the trees are beginning to clear out, and this mist begins to fade away a little bit. And before you know it, the mist almost ends abruptly in front of you. You kind of stop the whole party as through some of the trees far off in the distance, you see lights, these kind of bluish-green speckles of light shimmering through the leaves of the trees in front of you. You can't see any buildings or anything yet, but there are definitely sources of light ahead as the mist has almost been left like right behind you. It kind of ends in like a 10 to 15 foot abrupt kind of fall off. Looking up, you see there's just an empty night sky through the trees ahead of you. The stars are visible through it, and those sources of light ahead. Off in the distance, way at the edge of the tree line, you see a few humanoid figures kind of interacting and moving around between some of the lights, but beyond that, it's hard to tell at this distance. This is like hundreds of feet in front of you.
Well, I will communicate that to the rest of the party if they haven't already seen.
Yeah, you all see it.
I believe this might be where we're supposed to go.
Should we press onwards?
Right.
Should we get closer, or should we wait here while you move ahead?
I guess that depends on how everybody else feels. I feel that this would be a safe distance, out of sight, out of mind. But if people want to go a little closer, I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that too.
At least get a little further away from the fog here. So if anything does come out, I have a chance to see it.
And I should note, during this whole walk, you haven't seen any non-plant wildlife.
Birds, anything like that? Does it seem like birds and bugs and stuff like that? There's actually no animals.
You haven't heard any or seen any.
Spooky.
That's eerie.
Love this place. Happy Halloween.
So you guys want to continue forward? Is that what you said?
Yeah, get out of here.
So yeah, as you continue forward towards the sources of light, you see, in fact, the buildings begin to pop up on the distance. There are these old-looking white cut stone that have ivy and vines growing between the cracks in the bricks and along the creases in which they're laid. They have these reed and barked roofs that are shaved to a very fine shingle pattern on each of them, and they look positively ancient, but still very sturdy and intact. And just at this distance, behind all of these buildings, where the lights are actually coming from, seems to be one massive structure, kind of encompassing all of these buildings. These seems to be houses and whatnot. Behind them, at first you think it's a wall that's encompassing them, but then looking beyond that wall is a much larger domed structure that just reaches up into the mist. That small amount of mist that's hanging over the city and just vanishes into it. Made of this kind of white and green, the green shingles adorning the same white brick that just continues up and up and up. And there are many lights lit around the edges of this building. It has its own internal wall and 4 staircases on each side of this this settlement, kind of going up onto those walls and then down into the dome structure in the middle. Go ahead and whoever is, or everybody here, go ahead and make a wisdom saving throw.
Sure.
Take your +4s.
Oh, with +4. All right.
You all feel very secure around Kal'Araan.
The low roll.
No, stand to the right of one.
Oh,
Yeah, up there.
Okay,
Up there.
so yeah, so you all kind of stop as the now what you can realize is like a small city, kind of like a town-sized settlement in front of you. You all kind of take a moment. Soren, you feel this this kind of eminence take hold for you for a second. Your temples kind of ring. Your hearing is kind of muddled for a moment as you look around to the party. Each person kind of makes eye contact with you, and as you look at Pate, as you look at Pate, you lock eyes for a moment, and Pate, you notice that Soren stares at you for like a good 7 or 8 seconds nonstop as you kind of blink and look away after this. You feel as though that you may have not been the only person looking on, Soren.
Wait, so someone was... I get the feeling that someone was looking...
No, you just saw Soren. You just saw Soren looking at you.
Oh.
Soren feels as though, like, as he looked around to the party, he felt kind of this like haze wash over just a split second. You didn't feel like you lost any control of your faculties or anything, but afterwards you like feel like somebody else was like watching this too.
I'll voice that concern if I interpreted it correctly. I think
You alright,
maybe,
Soren?
I think someone is observing us or something.
Do you see anything? You look like you've seen a ghost.
No, just a feeling.
Interesting.
Oh, we are nearing the city. Wouldn't be outlandish for the elves to have sentinels of some kind.
You're not wrong.
If this is where we're going to wait out this, for you guys to go ahead, I think I'm going to. Well, I'm gonna work on a spell.
Okay. Is this where we want to, I guess, make up a small encampment for the time being? Is everybody okay with this distance?
I'm not okay with any of this, but I suppose
We should really do our best to conceal.
Yeah, no fire then.
No fire.
I guess while the group is gonna, I guess, make a makeshift or temporary encampment or whatever we're gonna do, can I forage just to find ingredients to make a basic antitoxin? I just want to make something that gives the nothing special from like the herbology book. I just want basic ingredients to help you prevent against the poison status.
go ahead and make a survival check, or first make a nature check, and then make a survival check. Do both. Yeah, so it takes you a lot longer than normal. If you want to spend some time doing this, at first glance, you see that like the plants on this island are extremely different than what you're used to on Lorand or back in Kal'Araan or anywhere. That there's less of this the most commonly found herbs around here, and there's more of things that you've never seen before. Things you're not sure would be helpful or not, but you're able to find a few of the ingredients that you need. It just takes some time.
Okay. So what I want to do is pull out my herbalism kit and start doing the herbalism thing, however you want to word it. And I want to make tablets of antitoxin, preferably one for each member of the party besides me, if possible.
Yeah, it's going to take some time to do that, so
Yeah.
Are you going to stay at camp and do that?
Yeah, I'd ask that everyone give me a little time. It's a safety measure for our end, hopefully to save our skins.
It will be like nighttime. It's already nighttime. So if you do it, you're going to be doing that, and then like you'll be tired enough to have the long rest, pretty much. That'll be it.
Maybe I won't then.
I'm just saying,
casting detect magic as a ritual.
Okay, I just wanted to say that, like, if you were planning on doing that and then immediately going into the city, you're not, like, unless you want to do that during the nighttime, you can. Otherwise, it's going to be late. Like, you've already lost sunlight.
No, that makes sense. I'll gather the ingredients and then I'll hold off on making the stuff for now then.
Okay. And Soren, you're casting detect magic?
Yeah, I was just casting that as a ritual. Wherever we're going to camp, that's where I'm going to spend 10 minutes to cast detect magic and just try to maintain it as long as I...
Okay. So yeah, as you're all setting up a very, very rudimentary campsite, no campfire, very little like high visibility, anything. It's relatively warm enough to camp on a bedroll on the ground. Now that you're out of the mist, you're not just getting like as much condensation on you and stuff. Soren, as you finish casting the ritual, you look around, and here, I'll just send it to you. What else are people doing in the meantime?
Supposed to get like a comfortable spot to keep watch.
Yeah, I'll probably hang close to Kal'Araan as well.
All right, so you're all just settling the camp for the night. You're just gonna rest, or what's the plan?
I'm not going to rest. If we're talking at the camp, Soren's going to stay awake and try to be as alert as possible. He's like really creeped out by this fog and the lack of animals and also the potential like vision that's on them.
I'll be staying awake as well.
How's Pig reacting to the fog in the woods?
Go ahead and make an insight check with advantage if you want to read because you know Pig pretty well.
Sure.
But since you were helping Marleon like along the path.
Is everyone? Did they leave yet? Did they leave before I cast the spell?
I don't think anybody's left yet.
No,
have they?
we're all kind of just around the camp yet.
You take a moment, like as you've been walking and watching Pig. You see Pig's kind of like nervous about like mist and like not being able to see super far ahead. He's happy that he's with everybody. And he's like a little calmed down. As you're settling in though, you see Pig just kind of like not scared or anything, but just kind of like staring off towards the dome a few times, like as you're setting up camp. And then you tell him to like, hey, like hold this down for me while I peg in the tent, and like he gets back and like puts his hoof on it or whatever. But if he's distracted for a moment, you see him just kind of look back towards the dome.
Focus, you fuck.
You watch AVE too.
I have an AVE shirt.
Yes.
I have a Release the Shmoo shirt.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. Alright. Yeah. So you guys are at camp. You have a rudimentary campsite set up.
Yeah. I needed to go get coffee. Soren's going to, like, look around for a moment. It's kind of like glazed eyes. I like this plan, but I don't. I think that they know we're here. We've come to a place that we did not understand.
Yeah, I mean, we knew that, I think.
So what do you suggest, Soren?
I think that if we do not go to them, then they will come to us. We can go on with this plan, but I'm afraid that they already know exactly where we are. and Verna can confirm. I think that we're surrounded by a strong divination magic aura. I see it everywhere.
So basically, no matter how stealthy we try to be, they're gonna probably know that we are where we are the entire time.
Yeah, at least it seems like it's coming from that building, but it fades into the mist. And if I understand this correctly, I think that we are already within it.
Oh, by the way, I have pretty artwork that you guys can look at.
Ooh, the splash art.
Welcome to the city of Glenmont.
Oh, nice.
Oops. There we go.
Whoa! Earthquake.
Oh, fun.
What does this remind me of?
We can try. We can go. It reminds me of a night elf city or something. I don't know, like a night elf ruins. I don't know. We can go forward with our plan. Just if you get called out, I would not try to bluff. I think that it's likely that they already know.
If they are so powerful in their divination, perhaps they can know that we are not here in any sort of malevolence. That we come here with purpose.
We can hope, but I don't like being in a situation where we don't have any cards to play. We're already at a disadvantage, and I don't see any way of regaining that.
At this point, Payne and Verna, you see Pig stand up for a moment and look towards the dome structure, and you see a like an excited look on his face. Not necessarily like super happy, but like he looks to both of you and is like takes a few steps forward and is motioning like, "Can I go? Like, please?"
Well, let's follow Pig.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll trust his pig stinks.
Uh,
Ha.
Pig dies instantly.
Kids.
Total party what?
He looks to both of you for approval to run forward.
I have a bad feeling about this.
Yeah.
As Pig immediately begins sprinting off towards the city itself and down this little clearing into the opening of the city. Are you guys chasing after him, or are you just watching, or what are you doing?
Just go after him. I mean, kind
Yeah.
of
Stealth, not, I don't know if stealthily, not
but keep pace with him, but don't we're not right next to him. Let him
Yeah.
kind of go ahead.
cautiously follow.
So yeah, you guys follow. He definitely sprints off ahead of you. So he gets ahead of you, but you keep an eye on him as you're kind of trying to maintain eye contact, or maintain eyes on him. As he gets to the entrance of the city itself, there's this small little obelisk that has signage on it that it's hard to read at this distance. You see one of the humanoids just walking around on the path over there, carrying a small torch with him. So he's kind of stout in figure and short down. Pig runs right up to him, and you see him jumping up, trying to jump onto him. You see him stop for a moment, puts a hand up, and then immediately you see the torch drop from his hands as he kneels down, and Pig jumps into his arms and is squirming around in excitement as you hear him you hear off in the distance he goes, "I can't believe it! I can't believe this right now." As Peyton Verna, I mean, the rest of you see Pig run off, but Peyton Verna are walking out towards the entrance. As you get closer, you notice that this is an old dwarven man that's kneeling down at the entrance right here, and Pig is incredibly excited to be around this person. As he's rolling over on his back and he's petting him, and he goes, "Oh, I can't believe this at all." As you get closer, Dean, you recognize this as Torluck Boneshield.
I'm gonna kind of like upon seeing him, I mean, it's been so long. I'm just gonna kind of like totally like forget that I'm trying to be stealthy, and just kind of walk absent-mindedly towards him.
As you walk up, you notice that there are other folk around the area. It's late at night, and there are these like small blue flamed candles that are in like windowsills and stuff around the area that provide as lighting. But very, very few other people on the street. As he looks up and sees you walking down the path, you see him kind of take for a moment and like hold his chest, and he stands up. You see as he uses the torch as a cane to kind of prop himself up. And he goes, "Pete Boffin."
You've gotten fat, my friend.
Oh, I'm not the only one, it appears.
I'm gonna slap my belly. Well, you know, a few pot stickers here and there.
Oh, well, I'm glad you haven't eaten this little one yet. He's gotten big and fat himself.
He's tempted me quite a few times.
As he looks up, Verna, you're with him, right?
Yeah.
He looks to Verna and like he still has that like grin on his face, and there's like this moment of realization in his eyes, and he goes, "Oh, Verna, things hadn't been so deadly and crazy. Well, I can't believe this isn't a dream. You're here in front of me, both of you."
Upon kind of like remembering where he is, Pate's gonna kind of snap back to like concerned, stealthy mode. Like, what are you doing here?
Oh, that, my friend, is a long story, and it's one I've got time to tell. But I felt your presence here earlier tonight. You're not alone, are you?
No, we have some companions with us.
Well, I've got the small cottage on the just a few houses down from here. You're more than welcome. And whoever's with you, of course. They're all friends if they're friends of yours.
That's good to hear. Yes, we'll take you up on that.
Of course. And I do have to admit, I've got some business to finish tonight with Viserion himself. But you're welcome to stay in my home if you wish. I'll be back later in the night.
Sure. Yeah, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
And he as he finally gets himself up, he walks over and gives you a big hug.
Yeah.
And he feels a lot more brittle than he was when you last saw him, which was many years ago, when Pig was but a wee pig fetus. I don't know, how old is Pig? Because you're pretty old.
Pig is if we're equivalent of mid-60s, Pig is I'll say late 40s.
Yeah.
Not directly he's 40.
Yeah, pig years.
Yeah, pig years.
Whatever that is. It's a fantasy world.
Yeah, he's a well-rounded, settled adult.
Yeah.
It's a well-adjusted boar.
Yeah.
As he kind of digs into one of his pockets, and he gives Verna a big hug too. As he digs into one of his pockets, he pulls out this elaborate-looking ancient key that he hands to you, and he goes, "It's just a little one down the path over there. Help yourself to anything. I can't believe this is such a blessing."
It's good to see you, my friend.
And he kind of pats you on the shoulder.
Companions.
Of course. I'll catch up with you later. And he kind of nods to both of you and hurriedly hikes his way up this huge staircase that goes up almost 100 steps in front of him up to the spires that go into the dome. And he takes it very slowly. He's like, ugh. Ugh. One at a time, just going up. As you guys are left in the front little square there.
Kate's gonna kind of I don't know, he's a little giddy after seeing an old friend after so long. And I guess we're gonna head back to the group.
All right. So the rest of you see Pate and Verna return with Pig.
I'm gonna kind of saunter up and whip out the ancient-looking key. Well, I got us a room.
Okay.
Interesting.
Thought we've never been here before. We know people with homes here.
Well, as it turns out, an old friend of mine happens to have a cottage here, of all things, and he offered to house us.
And that's it then? What about, and then Hastings would turn to Soren. What about the impending doom? Aren't we?
I don't know why and Soren's gonna like stand up and start packing up. I don't know why I doubted us. I forgot. And he's gonna like clap Pate on the shoulder.
Well, shall we be off?
I guess so.
I'm ready.
I guess we're all ready then.
All right, so you all make your way. If you see on the drawing, it's just that small cottage to the left of the centermost spire. As you make your way back into town, you pass the what's it called? You pass the obelisk with the signage. Marleone, you would read it as you walk by. It says, "In remembrance of the Isles," and it just shows this similar to the illustration on Al'Ran's map. This massive tree that's just like a big crest over the word itself. As you make your way to the cottage, it's a very, very ancient, like, as all the homes here look much older than in the illustration that I have here, but like they all look like they've been here longer than time. As you use the ancient key on the door, it just effortlessly like activates the lock and it opens up. It's a short ceilings for the most part. Most of the humans are able to fit in. There are a few lanterns you have to lean around. All the candles that are lit are that blue green kind of flame to them, and several of them, as you open the door, like come on. As you go inside, it's a very, very beautifully kept home. You see there's some old dwarven like relics and like family heirlooms and things along the mantelpiece, but most of the housewares, most of the artwork and everything is all elven in design, and it's very like strong curves to it, and uses that same color scheme. As you're all able to find kind of your own seat. This is definitely a home for one. There's not like several bedrooms. It's like one or 1.5 bedrooms and like a small living room and stuff.
I'm just gonna I'm not gonna like nose around. Well, I'm just gonna kind of like look around at things, see if I recognize anything.
How did you get this key?
From well, the owner was probably one of my oldest and best friends. I have no idea why he might be here.
You see Davrick like squint at you for a moment and like look to the rest of the party. He's like, "He's lying, right?
Should have known we had a contact here."
You stole that from somebody, didn't you?"
Deep's honor.
Go ahead and make an investigation check.
Okay. John, how do I direct message you?
You just use Discord.
Oh, okay.
It's easier. You can do a whisper in this, but I keep track of Discord way more.
Okay. Oh, okay. Alright, sorry, one sec. Also, I apologize for my thunderous typing. Investigation.
Investigation. Yep. Yeah, you looking around you, knowing Torluk, this is like he's a very proud dwarf in the time that you've known him, and that he would say things like, you know, I'm only buying steel if it's dwarven made steel, and like these kind of things. And a lot of the things that he owns now, anything that is dwarven or from a life that you imagine outside of the Isle, seems sentimental and less like anything that has any utility, whereas everything else seems to be elven. And then I'll send you anything relevant to that in private chat.
Okay.
What are the rest of you gonna do while you're hanging around in the house? Or are all of you staying there? That's what I should say. Like,
Yeah.
I assumed you all went with him, but
Yeah. I'll take a spot by the door.
I'm gonna have Omen wait outside, like perched on the roof, and then I guess Marleone now is gonna use this time, since we have nothing else to do, to start making those antitoxin tablets.
okay. And what did you say you were doing, Allround?
I was gonna make myself a spot by the door.
Okay.
Like, at least be immediately ready in case anyone barges in or anything like that.
I will also stand guard.
Someone's gonna take off his boots and sit down, kick up.
Oh, well, good job.
So who's this friend of yours, babe?
That's a long story. I've known. Well, to start off, his name is Torluk. An old grouchy dwarf, but a trusted friend. We should be safe here.
All right, so two.
Most of our most trusted allies have been grouchy old dwarves, so eager to meet him.
They make for good friends.
And Peg is like running around the room, like sniffing everything, like finding some of like the dwarven trinkets that he has on the shelf, and like climbing up and trying to like reach them. If there's nothing else you guys are gonna do while you're hanging out there, you just kind of like nobody's going outside or anything, right?
Occasionally I'll use Omen I'll like see through Omen's eyes to kind of just see if there's any movement outside, but it would be very brief.
Okay. And there are a few people that, and almost all of them elven, like high elf walking between homes or coming out from the dwarven, or not the dwarven, the dome structure in the center, and then heading back to their home. But it's pretty late at night at this point. As you all have made yourself comfortable for some time, eventually you hear another push on the door as Torluk makes his way back inside and closes the door behind him. And the torch you see is actually like a walking stick that's like unlit now at the top. Kind of walks in, and Pig runs right up to him, and he kind of like pets him for a moment and looks to all the people in his house, and he goes, "Oh, okay. Hello."
Hello.
Everyone, this is Torluk. Torluk, this is everyone.
Hello, everyone. Torluk Bone Shield, proud Black Hearthian, and Glenmonty. So, he looks to Payne Verna again as he like walks over next to Alron, and there's like another chair next to him that he like sits down next to him and goes, "What brings you all the way out here? You first."
Well, we seem to be in need of some elven wisdom, as it turns out. We've come across an artifact of sorts and need to learn some more information.
Well, if you're looking for elven wisdom, you've come to the right island, I can tell you that. I found more than my fair share of it in the last couple of years.
Years? How long have you been here?
Well, when was the last time you saw me? Must have been. We were some lads back then.
We were. Oh,
a few decades for sure. Must have been back in 180, 170 maybe.
Yeah?
That's when I made my way here. For better or for worse.
Why here? Why not live with the dwarves?
There was... After what happened back home. After you are gone. There was no life there anymore. Cormier's a shithole. And it was before you even left, you know that.
I do.
But... something changed. Something... Dugan's different than Marilyn was. And... I fell ill. I needed something different. And it so happened that there was an envoy making a pilgrimage of elves into the Isle. In that state, I'm not sure if they had sway over me or what, but I went with them. And like I said, once I came here, I never felt the need to go home. I don't look young, but I feel it. There's a life about this place that you can't find back in Kal'Araan. Not on the mainland. A kind of solemn, permanent existence. Humbled. It's not something I'm known for being.
I see.
It's brought me a kind of peace in what are becoming my later years. And Viserion, Feyvire, man, what a mind to know a man that's lived through the descent, every known human empire. It's unreal. It's too interesting to leave.
Well, that sounds like some elven wisdom we could use. I hope I'm not overstepping. By any chance, could you introduce us?
Well, not to sound too disturbing, and you'll spend some time here, I'm sure you'll come to terms with it. Viserion already has gotten to know you all a little bit since you stepped foot on the shoal, but especially since I went and just talked to him now. We were originally discussing some housing plans for me and a few of the neighbors, but when you've been around as long as he has and you're on Aladrin, well, his abilities picked up on my change of mood, and he probed a little bit, and I gave him some, of course, filled him in on what's going on. Just that you're here and you're a wonderful old friend, spending time with me, and you're welcome as long as you like. He did tell me that there was something urgent about you, all of you, and that you are welcome to speak to him soon, whenever you like. But he's expecting you at some point.
Good, yeah. No, we'll absolutely go see him.
And I'll go with you if you like. It's a bit late at night for me if you're planning on going soon, but if you were to go tomorrow or something, the nice thing about me being here now is the days are mine. I don't have a boss anymore.
Retirement looks good on you.
Oh, looks like you could use some, my friend.
Well, we're getting there. We've saved a few coins.
You've got more years than I do, let's be honest. I burned a lot of mine up in our younger ones.
Yes. The good old days.
Varna, this whole time, how have you been?
been good.
Everything that's happened with, you know, the situation back home. In hindsight, I wish I would have handled things differently. I was there for the pay, and there is a payout to be had. If there's one thing I've learned here, it's not the way you treat your neighbours. We may have not been real neighbours, but neighbours in existence. It was wrong, what we did. It was awful. There's no way I can make up for it. Maybe. Whatever help you all need, maybe I can now.
Thank you.
Well, as you can tell, there's not a lot of room in this house. But, well, for you two, I'm sure it's fine. But for the rest of you larger folk, you're welcome to stay any of these you like. I've got an extra bedroll I can roll out here. It's warm, of course. I'll keep it warm in here for you. But if you've been, I've been in your position before, camping out in the wilds. I'm sure this is a respite no matter what. So, anything you need hospitality-wise, please don't hesitate. Your friends are Pates and Verna's, your friends of mine.
You wouldn't happen to have any dwarvish whiskey, would you?
Oh, well, if there's... You know, they call Viserion the all-seeing. But I also spent the better part of my life hiding things. Once we get everybody set up with the sleeping arrangements, perhaps you and I can show you a few things I got in the cellar.
I look forward to it.
And he kind of like gets up and begins like clearing out some of the furniture and moving to the sides to like make room for if everybody's going to stay in the house, which I'm assuming, unless anybody else doesn't want to.
No, fine.
No? Okay. It's pretty late at night at this point. So he brings out two extra comfy bedrolls, like compared to the camping ones that you guys have. Two of those, and then you guys all have your own sleeping equipment if you wish. He brings Payne Verna to a spare bed that he has, like off in a side room with a kitchen. It's almost like a mud room. He unrolls it and like lays it out, and it's like a very nice setup for a one-bedroom house. So gets everybody settled in. So before he goes and finds Pate for the night, what is anything you guys want to do in the meantime?
How is the antitoxin tablets coming?
You would spend the next like hour or two like forming them out and like drying them, and they're
okay.
And they're probably ready to use the next day. One for each person.
Yeah.
If he's still here, I want to ask him about this Viserion guy.
Sure. Yeah, he's just like finished rolling out the bedrolls for you guys.
You said it's Viserion? Viserion?
Viserion. You might say Viserion, but that's your tongue talking.
You said he's known as the All-Seeing?
Some outside folk have called him that. That's what I knew him as on the ride over. But he's a seer, so the name is befitting. And I don't know if you've ever met a seer before in your life, but it's an unreal experience, especially somebody that's seen as much as he has and been around as long as he has.
How does he rank in the society here? Is there who rules?
It's not necessarily a rule, but Viserion's who we look to for guidance and knowledge and security. It's not that he has any necessarily rule over us. We're pretty self-sustaining, and He's a member of the community just as much as I am.
You said we were welcome to speak with him, and that you came here and must have been welcomed. I have to admit, we came here not knowing how well we would be received. How are outsiders treated?
In my experience, in the last couple decades, it depends on what kind of outsiders you are. Now, I'm sure you're in good hands here with the boffins, but... at least these boffins. But looking at some of the other more not so kind guests we've had in the past, I'll just say that you made it this far, and Viserion let me, welcome you into my home. I'd guess that your goals are not nefarious in any way to be worried about. It just seemed like whatever you've got going on is pretty important. From what he told me, at least. But there was a curious fellow a few years back. Couldn't be more than 3 or 4 years. Came to the Isle by himself. Had nothing on him but a black cloak and a letter and some weapons, which is normal for outsiders. He came to meet with Viserion, and the whole time Viserion was wary, talking about old times. Came up to the meeting. Viserion had him taken away immediately. Said no good what would come with what he brought to this isle. And I said he was looking for something that didn't belong to him. But...
with no word from this man?
None that I heard. But like I said, he's a seer.
And this... What was the fate of this man?
Well, Viserion's not a murderer, if that's what you're going about. But he's not about to put everyone on the island at risk if there was somebody with nefarious intentions, so I'm not sure. The last time I saw him was in the main chamber, around the Tree of Unja, with Viserion himself.
It would seem that Viserion does exert some rule. With a word, he can remove a man before he has even spoken.
Well, I should say when he's taken away, he's not, it's not us taking him away. There are no guards here on Glenmont. There's no militia. There's no army. It's us surviving. And when people come here, they make decisions they wouldn't otherwise make. And so when Viserion acknowledged that he was here to do us harm, he convinced him to be taken away. And I'm not sure where he ended up, but he went there willingly, so to speak. But I assure you, from the moment this man set foot on the shores, I was warned about it. No such warning from you.
It speaks well of us, at least. I am concerned by this. The weight of this man's divining.
It took me some years to get used to. But if you're here for some time, you'll learn that it's really the only way that the people here can survive, is having someone like him. But anyways, Pate, I owe you a drink.
Seems about that time.
Well, make yourselves at home, all of you, and please have a restful sleep, and I'll bring you to Viserion in the morning if you wish.
That would be great.
That would be wonderful. Yes.
Yes. Well, good night. And he opens the door, and the cellar door is outside, leading down to the basement. So he walks outside with you, Pate. Unlocks the cellar and walks down. It's very well furnished too. It's like got siding and then wood panel walls and everything. And as he goes down, he kind of reaches down towards one of the floor tiles, this heavy stone tile, and he like shifts it to the side, and it's like probably like 1.5 inches thick, or like almost 2 inches thick. It's huge. As he props this thing up, you see him reach down. He goes and blows in. A bunch of dust shoots up out of the tiles, and he pulls out. You hear some clinking as he pulls out the label is starting to erode and like melt away, but there's a dark bottle of brandy that he pulls up, kind of like sits it on the ground and slides and like as you look down, as he slides the tile back over, there's like 10 more bottles down there as he it's like sits back down to the bottom of the cellar. And he goes, "Why don't we make it like old times, huh?" And he motions behind you, and you see there's an old card table set up in the corner. And as he pops the cork of the bottle itself and grabs 2 really fine like crystalline glasses from a shelf nearby, he goes, "But this time, you're not taking my boar. I still think you cheated in that game. He's happier with you than he was with me, though." As he goes over to the table and pours you a drink, and he takes a sip and he kind of sits back in his chair and sighs deeply and goes, "So have you heard from the Boffins?"
Not a word. I was gonna ask you the same thing.
"Well, things were crazy after you left. And as you know, in hindsight, I wish I handled it differently, but I'm with you on the decision to leave. Your older brother, he's not a good man, Pete. He's done bad things, and not just the ones that you've witnessed. He puts Beryl into shame. A few things put horror in my mind more than thinking about him."
I know. We've had to hide to the north for so many years now. Kept our heads low, but I worry, one day I'm gonna get a knock on the door. That'll be it.
I've got the same worry. And trust me, I've got so many safeguards against that. It doesn't stop the fear at night. Going to bed and waiting for one of the sons to show up at your door. The flash of steel. But it's gotten better. And as you, I'm sure, have heard, even in your far reaches, you said in the far north. After Beryl was passed away, it was well, Dugan's rule is quite different. It's been like that for a long time. It's one of the many reasons I can't go home. And if I'm being honest, I don't mean this with disrespect, but you and Verna, you're not getting younger. And if a man shows up at your door with a flash of steel, well, I don't think there's a safer place than this. I'd urge you to consider what your life might be like here. I've never had a peace stronger than this one.
Well, there's work Verna and I need to see finished, but maybe in time.
Spoken like a true boffin. And he kind of finishes his drink in front of you. And well, around the cards to be customary, of course.
You'll lose your house soon enough.
He brings out the deck and he begins shuffling it, and laying them out between you. And that's where we're gonna end it for tonight.
as one last tidbit, after they leave, I guess, Hixus would say to the group, this place. That's it.
Taverick's like, me too. It's not good. I never thought I'd say this, but I'd rather be back in the frozen north.
There's no militia? Then who took the man away in that story he told?
It sounded like he took himself away. That's what he said.
Pig is the only animal on this island.
Peg he's like Peg's with Verna right now. Like looks up and is like, well, that'll be it for tonight. Let me check next week just to be sure.